Welcome along to this live webinar here as a part of Vision Week. My name is Dominic Bowden, and we're coming to you live from Raglan, where for the last day we've done the Reboot New Zealand Summit. This really has been a collection of big thinkers that we've brought together: tech entrepreneurs, computer scientists, system architects, corporate innovators, and system thinkers to ask big questions. The big questions are: how do we provide alternatives to our broken system? How do we provide keyboard-ready projects, moving our way towards creating 1 million jobs in this weightless economy? So we're going to be digging into those questions and many more. We've got some big thinkers. We've got some innovators here on our panel. I'm about to introduce them, but today we're going to try our best to cover 4 key areas. The cross-sector collaboration: how do we bridge that digital divide? The global voice: how does New Zealand lead a new way forward? How do we build back better with intent? And finally, data ownership, sovereignty over our digital self. So look, a lot to get through and a lot to dig in. I guess more than anything, this really feels like the last day has been about collaboration. I think that's so important, creating that community as we move forward, sort of in the time that we're in. So to get into it, let's introduce all of our panel, starting with Alice Sanders from Centrapay, Vaughan Fergusson, the founder of Vend.
Hey.
McDonald from Centrality. Brittany Teei from KidsCoin. The illustrious Brooke Howard-Smith.
G'day.
Lafaele from Voluntarily. Amber Taylor from Ara Journeys. And Andy Higgs from Centrality. So I know it's been a big 24 hours for all of you guys. So again, collaboration has been key. There really is a sense of community out here in Raglan. So just before we kind of kick off, give us a sense, Amber, what it's been like for you. I mean, what have been the highlights for you of this Reboot New Zealand Summit?
You know, I think other than, morena koutou everyone, other than hanging out with all these cool kids across the last 2 days, I think one of the highlights for me would be the underpinning message that's coming across in all our discussions around Māori values. So looking at like manaakitanga, whanaungatanga, kaitiakitanga, and how that can help us really shape and move Aotearoa forward, how we reboot in that space, like shifting from these profit-driven frameworks that we're currently seeing and innovating for, and then turning that around and innovating for people and for well-being. And, you know, that's something that Māori tech businesses do really well. So I think that's been the biggest highlight for me, is seeing that messaging across the board.
Yeah, and it really does feel like everyone that is here has that shared feeling of kind of growing together. And you do talk about reboot, and that's what the last day has been about, reboot. In this time that we find ourselves in, Vaughan, why is it important to be rebooting rather than starting from scratch?
Yeah, somebody put it well yesterday, so I'll take credit for what they said. But you know, it's a reboot, so it's like rebooting your computer. You're not taking the computer apart and building a whole new computer. You're just reconfiguring things. And I think it's a good way of thinking about it, because the feeling I get, and I think the feeling that everybody has been sharing over the last day or so, is that what New Zealand has in our value system is kind of it's exactly what the world is looking for right now. There's a void in leadership on how we can find a new model to look after our people and find prosperity. You know, I'm not going to go all crazy left-wingy here, anti-capitalist. It's like I think people are a little bit more conscious these days. They're looking for a way forward that improves us all, like makes us better, makes us feel better, makes us more successful. So I don't think we need to scrap anything. I mean, there's probably some things we definitely need to change, but I think what New Zealand has, brand New Zealand, and this is something we've always known. Like, we've always been pioneers. You know, through the whole COVID situation. You know, we've been remote working since, you know, for 300, 400, 500 years, since we first got here on this land. Like, it's something that we are great at, and you know, we're kaitiaki of this amazing place. And these are the values that the world's looking for right now. So how do we take care of the planet? How do we take care of each other? And how do we be successful in doing that?
Someone framed it really well to me the other day and said New Zealand used to be about 100% pure. Now the brand is really 100% trust, and people from the global community are really looking to New Zealand as leaders in this space. We talk about jobs and how many jobs are a reality to kind of upskill people in this digital space. Brittany, what's your take on the potential of the jobs that we can create here?
Yeah, I think, you know, obviously there's a lot of people in tough positions at the moment, so we can't undermine the situation that we face. But in saying that, thinking about digital and thinking about tech, thinking about the future of work and thinking about what opportunities that brings, that's what we as New Zealand actually can grab hold of now. I think the challenge to us as Aotearoa is to do that together and make sure that, you know, whether we're in privileged positions or we aren't, that everyone gets taken on that journey and jumps on that waka. So, you know, it's an exciting time. I think it's going to take some proactive and innovative minds to come up with solutions around what the future of work actually looks like for Aotearoa. But I do think that, you know, we have prime opportunity, especially now that everyone's been out in lockdown and they're a little bit more open to using, you know, the likes of Zoom and things like that wouldn't, you know, be normal otherwise.
Yeah, you talk about innovators and certainly someone that's looking to level the playing field, Aaron, from Centrality. You talk about digital infrastructures. Bring us into that. What do you see that as? What's your vision? Aaron?
Oh, it's me. Cool. Thanks, Dom. So I think there's been a lot of talk about shovel-ready projects and these investments in things that are ready to go to get New Zealand off the ground and get jobs back, momentum back in the economy. And one of the things that I think is really important for us not to miss is that while those things are great, but we have this opportunity to do the same in the digital space and not only create infrastructure, physical infrastructure out there that can see us into the future, like cycle lanes and the like, we can also do the same for digital infrastructure. The opportunity, this kind of almost a once in a generation moment to build better and to build those fundamental components that helps our society become more successful and to increase the opportunity for people to create lightweight exports that we can take to the rest of the world and grow our high value economy through those activities. So you can kind of think of those infrastructure components, like how can we make better rails around digital identity, for example, as a kind of core foundation of building other applications on top of. How can we make better rails around sharing data and information between critical players in our economy? How can we bring together companies to create consortiums to pull together that valuable resource of data and make it available for people to build applications on top of? How can we do the same thing around our financial rails? How can we modernize those and give birth to a new generation of financial infrastructure that people can build better financial applications that serve our communities better than we do today? So those are the kinds of things that I think we can talk about as keyboard ready projects. So put those digital innovations and digital infrastructure investment alongside the physical infrastructure, and we could set ourselves up to take New Zealand's success in the past in this sector and really propel it into the future. One of the panelists earlier around trust being a thing we can export now, maybe yourself, Don, and can we do those things in the digital space and create new trust frameworks that the world can look at and say, we want to do that. We want to take what New Zealand's done and implement that in this world, which is becoming a little bit chaotic now.
Well, yeah, I think that right now the world is watching, and New Zealand is someone that is kind of leading. So if we look at a real world example, maybe to go to you, Alice, at Centrapay, how does that relate to the challenges that you guys are facing right now?
Look, I think it's more the challenges that I've recently faced before working at Centrapay. So that would be just the little direction and job opportunities that are shown from after primary school when you go into, intermediate and then especially at university. Since I studied computer science, I always thought that I had to be a developer. I had to work at Trade Me or Xero, and that was kind of the only option that you're kind of given unless you go and actively search for other options at, mentorship programs and stuff. But majority of the people there, there's only like 5 jobs in that cohort, and that's kind of all you're directed to aspire or, hope to get, which kind of removes like the purpose, because since there's such small job opportunities in those two companies. It's quite difficult. So I think that it's really important that we start trying to show all the millions of different types of jobs you can get, even from studying anything, but maybe specifically studying technology. You don't have to be a developer. You can do so many different things, like integration managers. There are just hundreds and hundreds of options that I don't feel like are being showed or given to people.
Yeah, and I think that's the importance of what we're doing here with the summit, and also the communities. Each one of our leaders and innovators we're talking to today has their own community, and I want to talk to you, Eti, about community really, and the role that it plays in shaping this new digital infrastructure, because obviously we are stronger together. What's your take on it?
Malole Soifo, thank you for the question. I think for the community, the role for it is to pretty much, well, the ones that I've been involved in is to make sure that their voice and their needs are heard, especially in this new digital infrastructure. Because, for example, there's a lot of the communities are scared to use 5G, but if only they were educated more about what it is and how it can benefit them. So if we're going towards this, this new digital infrastructure, I think education is part of it, but also the communities also need their voices to be met, because a lot of them don't really know much about this new digital age and stuff. So I think it's more about educating and also hearing what they've got to say too. So that's my kind of 10 cents, 50 cents, or whatever you think, but that's my view for what the community has.
Thanks, Eti. And I think that you look at the trades in New Zealand, building, plumbing, there's incredible infrastructures of apprenticeships. So the question would be, what would that look like in the digital space? What would a digital apprenticeship look like? Brittany, what do you think?
Well, we're actually working on something like that and have been for a couple of years now. So I think just the time we're in exacerbates the issues that we're facing and the opportunity that kind of model presents. But definitely, I think from a top-down perspective, we kind of tend to move towards getting people into construction and into these types of industries, as a response to all the other, like the GFC, for example. But we've got a chance to do things differently. And that's what I think the digital apprenticeship model actually presents. It's a way to retrain our people. It's a way to get them into these millions of jobs that Alice was referring to. It's a way to diversify our talent and our skills out there. So, now is the most ripe opportunity to do so. And saying that, like I said, we've got a program that's been up and running for a few years now. And even during lockdown, we actually saw quite massive expansion with that program. It's called 3 Bags Full. And we've been able to offer that to youth who have lost jobs through COVID. We've been able to offer that to adults who have lost jobs due to COVID, and we've also been working with Pacific-owned SMEs who, had to shut down due to lockdown. So, I think now is the time for those types of models, especially when there's economic need and there's a need for retraining and reskilling.
Yeah, I see the kind of digital space is certainly light. And in the world right now, there's so much uncertainty. We can look towards fear or we can look towards hope. In that digital space, there's all these people that we've got on this call and here at the summit are really shining that light. It's about how do we get that investment now? How do we get investment in the digital infrastructure that can really reboot us moving forward after COVID-19? And Amber, I'd love to get your take on how we do that.
I think one of the things that COVID really highlighted is that our systems are broken. The one size fits all kind of blanket framework doesn't work for everyone. And I think now's the time that we start looking and putting in place the legislation and the policies that we need to fix that. Like building the infrastructure that Aaron's highlighted and working with community, what Eti highlighted, and the stuff that Britt's just talked about. Working with communities and having those systems in place really does benefit health and well-being, but we need the right support to be able to implement all those innovations. So we've got R&D tax incentives that kind of reward if you build it, they'll come way of thinking, but why don't we have money enhancing tax incentives where you're rewarded for values, where you're rewarded for sustainability, for giving back to your community, for helping close the digital divide? And I think, yeah, if we can start thinking down that kind of line of thinking, that's where we'll have real impact and show the world, you know, this is how we do it.
Yeah, and I think that the impact is the word there. We talk about data, and there's a lot of money and revenue that's being taken from our data that we're not seeing any of. Andy, you know a lot about this space. Who currently owns, say, my data and your data? It's certainly not us, is it?
Well, yeah, there's kind of two parts to that question, Dom. I think it's like who currently owns it, and then who should own it. So yeah, if we look at who currently own it, so I think the biggest beneficiaries of our data right now, as you can see, and it's due to the power of network effects, are the internet monopolies. These most of them are in Silicon Valley, and they're all household names, and we give them our digital selves willingly for a few guns and muskets, and the deal's not great, but yeah, we're all signed up to that, and because there's not alternatives that connect us or help us search or the mapping tools that we need, navigation, we kind of we put up with it, but yeah, I mean, I think the rich are getting richer, and power is being more and more concentrated in the wrong places, and I think it's time to take the power back. So I think that there's a growing awareness that the one who should own our data, or your data, or my data, Dom, is us. We need to take the control back, because data is gold, and if there's one thing we can do coming out of this crisis, would be a better foundation for a better future. It would be taking that power back. So the algorithms and the AIs on the internet don't manipulate us, and we can turn them off, and we can have more influence over our digital lives. So and I'm also thinking other data, public data, so health data. Look at these tracing apps that are collecting all our data. I mean, what are they doing with it? The government was slow, and the industry just stepped in. So we've got to flip the model and create more open systems where people can control their identity and the attributes that are attached to us, the credentials, whether it be our driver's license, our passport, our health data, our financial data, and control that. And then we can choose. We need the freedom to choose, which financial service we want to use. We don't want to be locked into a bank. We don't want to be locked into, a social media platform. We don't want to be locked into a mobility platform. That's the opportunity in front of us to create a better world.
I certainly feel from an energy perspective that there really is a sense of collaboration and people wanting to work together and wanting to build something different, something better. And one of the other sectors that's been really hard hit, of course, is tourism. What do you problem? Where do you see some solutions as to where we could start?
Just to wrap, I've always been really interested in national recoveries, like this idea of New Zealand coming together and coming up with solutions. And we've done it since we were kids with telethons, all the way to Rise Up Christchurch, and recovering after that when we all felt a sense of kind of helplessness. We got together and we solved some big problems. And there's no doubt that this is probably maybe New Zealand's greatest ever sense of national, endeavour. First, we've gone through the health aspect of it, and without patting ourselves on the back too much, it feels like we got through the first half pretty amazingly. And now we're sitting there, it's oranges at halftime in the game, and now we're looking at how can we actually complete this now or move through. And the next part is definitely about the health and well-being of a whole bunch of insects has been smashed, absolutely smashed. And I'm down here because we have what we think is a pretty wide idea. It's a community that was hit pretty hard when hospitality and tourism ended. They've got around 25% unemployment on the island now, and they're trying to find a way back. And I've got a house there that's empty most of the winter. And I volunteered. I said, listen, I'll give the house for a weekend's rental and take out the cleaning and the admin fees, and then we'll just leave vouchers to local businesses in the house for the people that come and rent it to the value of the house. So if you rent my house for $1,400, you get back $1,200 in vouchers for local restaurants. And it's called On the House. It's no skin off my nose. I wasn't using the house. We have around 20,000 unused holiday homes around regional New Zealand right now that can be used for this. And on Waiheke for week 1, which is happening next week, we've raised around $90,000 that will be pumped back into the tourism economy on that weekend alone. And it's now spreading around the country. So, yeah.
Great initiative, one of many, certainly that the people here at the summit, but also on this call are a part of. And I guess that as the Reboot Summit sort of comes to an end, and as Vision Week kind of comes to an end, I want to go back to each of you just one more time. What's top of dome? What's the thing that you look to be doing next week to sort of really start to create this change? So Alice, maybe if we start with you, you know, where do you see your movements going in the next week or two?
Yeah, look, I think just going back to my point about the schools and universities not showing enough opportunity and options in jobs after you graduate and everything, I think starting by bringing more awareness of all these different types of jobs. Sometimes mentorship programs just aren't enough because the people who do want to go to them kind of already have an idea. So we need to find more ways to bring in large, you know, tech role models maybe from all these different fields, and yeah, start bringing those in.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of them on this call and in this community. So yeah, I think that will be an easy thing to get started. And Aaron, you know, you guys at Centrality are working on a lot of initiatives, you know, in the wider community, but also a lot that we've sort of talked about today. What are you going to be really focused on in the rebuild in the coming weeks?
Yeah, I think for me, it's getting behind the great teams that are out there and coming up with these initiatives and giving them all the support we can to go out and be successful. One thing that I really loved out of the session we had here was the idea that Brittany came up with around digital All Blacks. You know, how can we create the type of infrastructure that produces world-class athletes and a commercial outcome through sport for underserved communities? How can we take that model and replicate it in the digital space and create the same pathways and heroes for people to look up to and to build a future for the next generation in technology in New Zealand? That's something I'm really keen to double down on and start pushing through various initiatives that we'd be working with people on the call here who've got some great ideas and already starting to do cool work in that space.
Thanks, Aaron. And look, thanks everyone again for being here and being on this call. And you mentioned Brittany, so let's go there now. Brittany, what about you? What are the next 2 weeks? What's going to be your guys' focus?
Yes, so for us, we are at the point ready to scale our 3BF digital apprenticeship program. We're primarily focused on, you know, underserved, underprivileged communities, and especially Māori and Pacific, you know, to bring that diverse voice into the tech sector as well. I think that's another opportunity that this time brings. So yeah, we just continue to work, you know, on the ground with the communities and help to uplift them and support them in their journey into the digital world.
Great stuff. And Eteroa, what about you?
Yep, pretty much the same as what Brittany said, and echoing her, and also knowing that you know, our communities may not be aware, but some are, and I think a lot of with the COVID-19 situation, a lot of our communities had to use technology, and it really brought a lot of awareness. Like, for example, all the pastors and all the churches, when they found out that we couldn't have church services, they all wanted to tell the young generation, oh, can you teach me how to use Facebook Live? Can you teach me how to do this? And I think we just need now that they know now that we know that urgency makes our community learn technology, it can help them even further. So I think now that we know that, because of that situation, they now know we can like build on their knowledge that they have so far. So there's heaps of awareness, but we just need, like, you know, digital fluency for them now. So that's the key.
Good stuff. People like you are really leaders there. So thank you for all the hard work that you do. And Amber, what about you? What's the next sort of weeks and months going to look like?
I think our next steps for Other Journeys is back to co-designing with our communities and coming up with the digital solutions that are going to work for them. I think a key focus for us post-COVID would be what digital infrastructure can we help put in place that's going to leverage off our new health and well-being for our people and our environment. Like, how do we keep the environment breathing and regenerating, but also how do we help our people at the same time?
Good stuff. Yeah, I know that if we go to you, Brooke, to close us out, it's initiatives like, On the House that we all can band together and support. So I guess the question is, how can people watching this support that initiative, and what does the next month look like for you to bring it to life?
I really appreciate that. So, I mean, if you do have a community and you want to find ways for us to help with On the House, go to onthehouse.nz and we'll take down your details, and we'll be rolling it out through New Zealand throughout the next month or two. I'd like to see some more leadership in travel and tourism, like at the moment from the Minister. We've done such a great job, again, on the health outcome here, but we do need better leadership in around what each of these industries, how they can tackle the next couple of months. So that would be awesome from travel and tourism.
Great, thanks, Brooke. And Andy, I know you've got a lot of sort of keyboard-ready ideas, and certainly some ideating that's been done in the last 24 hours has helped sort of strengthen those. What are the most exciting for you?
Yeah, thanks, Dom. I think we've come out of this summit with a much stronger narrative around data, freeing our data, freedom to choose, digital identity. I mean, it's already, the technology's there, and we work every day trying to pull the various stakeholders together to push that agenda forward. So, we're hopeful of continuing to decrease the momentum there. And then we've got lots of keyboard-ready projects, but one that I'm particularly excited about is Arrive Wellington, where we're connecting the transport ecosystem in Wellington to help people make smarter choices around their transport. So bringing visibility to the cost of transport, the carbon emissions with your various choices, and then showing people better options that get them to where they want to go at the right time, with a minimum impact on their wallets and on the planet. So that's a really exciting one, and I'm hopeful that Let's Get Wellington Moving is going to get moving on that, with support from NZTA, who have been really positive and supportive. And there's a lot of consensus around these ideas, so I think we just got to make them happen.
Right, thanks, Andy. And I guess to close us out, we'll go to you, Vaughan. You're kind of one of the masterminds of this call and of this summit. So I guess it's what's next. What do you see as the next steps, not only for the community and the people watching this, but for yourself?
Yeah, I think that my biggest takeaway from chatting with all these amazing people is the importance of community. Like, the projects that we're working on now are just the start. There's going to be another wave of projects and another wave of projects. Like, we're not going to solve the problem with the thinking that we have today. We need to engage our communities, and we need them to bring surface up the problems that they want solved, and then they need to be empowered to be able to do it. Like, the digital future is scary. Like, we're a bunch of smart people on a Zoom meeting, and we had an unfortunate thing where somebody, we think we know what we're doing, and then we have somebody come and hack our Zoom meeting. So the digital space is fraught with peril. The world's on fire. There's all these bad actors who just want to see the world burn. And so we need to connect back to a values-driven approach. And I think this is the opportunity for us as a country, as New Zealanders. It's like, it's nothing new. We've always been driven by a values-driven approach. And I think this is something that the world desperately wants. Like, how can we solve problems, not through a commercial lens, although that's incredibly important for us, for our economy, but how do we anchor to some values and make sure that we're solving the problems that our communities want solved, and that we're empowering them to then go and solve them.
Thanks, Vaughan. And I guess it's about creating a new normal, right? It's everyone remembers, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, it feels like a very different world that we're in right now. And it's conversations like this, it's like Vision Week and like the summit that we've had over here over the last 2 days that really are going to lead the charge. One of the quotes that, I've been repeating is, in our rush to get back to normal, it's good to ask ourselves what part of normal is worth rushing back to. So what are we going to rebuild? What is it going to look like? What are we going to start again with? And what does the future look like? So more than anything, I want to thank everyone for watching. But now's the time for action. Thank you, all the guys, all the panelists, and everyone that's sort of been here for the last 2 days. We're going to be sharing more content. And we made it. So we're very happy to have got through this call. And we thank you for being a part of it, and thank all of our panelists. But yeah, now's the time for action. So look to the Vision Week platforms for content that we're going to be sharing over the coming days and weeks. And yeah, let's rebuild together. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Dom.
Thank you.